Hey guys, welcome to my video. In this tutorial, I'll be showing you how to automate Flux dust. Specifically, I am playing all the mod 6 to the sky, and in this pack, to create Flux dust, you need to put redstone in between bedrock or a flux block and obsidian, and click it. So it's not as easy as in some packs where you can just throw redstone in a furnace, smelt it up, and you have Flux dust. And at first, I thought that I wouldn't be able to automate this. So I went online and I found a tutorial, but it used 4 or 5 different mods and it was just way too complicated for my taste. So I decided to take a crack at it and I came up with a fairly small, compact, and easy way to set it up. And I'll be demonstrating to you now. In my specific setup, I have it set to where it will create a stack at a time, just because that seemed most efficient to me. And as you can see, it crafted up 1 stack just fine, and just for sake of showing it, I'll craft 3 stacks at a time. Crafted up just fine, and yeah. I will say that my setup specifically uses cyclic blocks and the smallest bit of mechanism. And to show you what all you'll need for this tutorial, basically, you'll need a refined storage setup. I'm using a creative controller and an infinite storage disk just for ease of use. You can obviously use just a regular controller and any size storage drive. You will also need any tier of crafter. If you don't have extra storage, you can just use a regular crafter. If you do have extra storage, then you can use an iron, a gold, a diamond, or a netherite crafter. It doesn't matter. I'm just using the netherite crafter because it's the fastest. You'll need 1 importer and a couple cables. From mechanism, you'll need a configurator, 4 logistical transporters. It doesn't matter the tier. It could be basic, advanced, elite, or in this case, ultimate. I'm using it for speed. And 1 logistical sorter. From cyclic, you'll need a... Ooh, that's not cyclic. Sorry. You also need a wrench just for the crafter. From cyclic, you'll need a filter data card. This is important for the item collector. You'll also need an item user, a precise dropper, a block placer, and a block breaker. That's all we'll need from cyclic. You'll also need a building block of your choice, 1 cobblestone, 1 flex block, I'd say about 2 stacks of obsidian, and 2 stacks of redstone. You can get by off of 1 stack, but it's just easier for testing purposes to have 2. You'll need a stack of flux dust and 1 chest. Also, you optionally could have speed upgrades for your importer and netherite crafter. But obviously you don't need them. This is just so they can craft faster and get back into your system a little faster. Now, let me set the time today and we'll get started. So I'm going to take all these items and I'm just going to start with setting up the basic setup I have right over there. And ultimately what you're going to need is you're going to need a precise dropper and a block breaker on your bottom layer. I forgot the most important part. You'll also need a flux block. And basically what this is going to do is the precise dropper is going to be dropping your redstone, and what you'll want to do is you'll want to set the delay down to the smallest 1, and you'll want to set the count up to 64. And then just put it on always on, and then that's fine. You'll need to supply it with power as well. So let me come back over here and grab my flux point. And so there's that. Your block breaker will be breaking your obsidian after your process is finished. You'll just want to place your flux block on the floor. And then in this little 1x1, you'll want to place pieces of stone. And this is where you'll be placing your item user and your block placer. Finally, you'll want to place your item collector. This will be your setup for all your cyclic machines, so you no longer need them. For the item user, you want to put your tick delay down to 1 and always on, and your block placer and block breaker to always on. Essentially, you want all these machines to be on the lowest tick delay possible and to always be on. The item user needs power, so I'll be giving it power. This does use 50 FE per tick, but that should be fairly easy to produce at this stage in the game if you're looking to mass produce flux dust. Now, at this point, we should probably set up the distribution system for your redstone and your obsidian. So, for this, you'll need your chest, your redstone and obsidian. You will need your filter data card. You'll need your electrical sorter, your pipes, and your configurator. What you'll want to do is you'll want to place a block on the back of your item collector so that you can place your chest. And then off of your chest, you'll want to place your logistical sorter, and you can now break the block underneath of your chest. Now, we will be taking our logistical sorter and bringing it out to your block bracer and down to your precise dropper. We want to disconnect the connection from the item collector, so it's only connected to your precise dropper. You'll then also want it to where it pulls out of your logistical sorter. Now, inside of your logistical sorter, you'll want to create a new filter, item stack. You want to put in redstone, and in this case, I'll just be setting it to blue. Now you want to put size mode on, and put this min and max number over here to 64. So when this chest is filled up with 64 redstone, it'll pump that out to the blue section, which we can then just right click this section of pipe, and it'll come down to my precise dropper. So in this case, if I put in half a stack of redstone, it doesn't go to the precise dropper, wherein if I put in a stack of redstone, it will. Now, I will need to come over to this item collector, which we will set up momentarily, for when we to collect our processes afterwards, because we don't want the item collector to pick up our redstone before our process has time to finish. That's the point of our filter data card, and we'll get to that momentarily. Finally, we will want to set up the next filter, and this is for our for our obsidian. And you'll take your obsidian, put it in the slot, and put it to green, and this one you can just leave as is. And finally, you can set the pipe over here to green. That goes into your block placer. Now, I want to configure my item collector, and I like to set the preview on just so I can see. Now, we only want this to collect items inside of our setup, so we can set it to a 3x3, and it will collect everything that happens within that little area. We can now turn that preview off, make sure it's set to always on, and we want to set up our filter data card, and with that we will need one flux dust, one obsidian, and one cobblestone. The reason why we need the cobblestone is because sometimes during this process, when the block is broken, the obsidian can be turned into cobblestone. I'm pretty sure that's just how it sometimes works when converting redstone into flux dust. Now we can put this filter in here, and now you can see the next time that we put oh, I didn't mean to put the obsidian there right away. We put the redstone in there, the redstone drops, and it isn't picked up, and we can come over here and pick this back up. Sweet. Also, really important, I'm sorry, this tutorial is kind of scatterbrained. First tutorial, you want to make sure that this use left hand option is ticked. If not, it won't work. You can see almost everything was set up fine, but when I put the redstone in, it didn't turn. At this point in time, you should have all of your cyclic machines set up. All of them should be turned to always on and put at the lowest tick delay. The precise droppers should be at a count of 64. Your block placer should be loaded up with some obsidian, and your item user should be using the left hand. Now what we can do is we can check if we have everything configured. If we put less than a stack into our chest, it won't go. But if we put a stack in, you can see there was some particle effects there, but the obsidian's still there. Well, that's just because our block placer is really fast, and as soon as the obsidian went down and created the flux dust, another one was placed, and you can see we now have our flux dust and our cobblestone in our item collector. We are nearly finished, and all we need to do now is set up the autocraft recipe in our pattern grid, as well as set it up to our item collector and chest as the input and the output. The easiest way to do this is come over here and grab your crafter. I'll be putting away the items that I don't need for the time being. You'll need your importer, your cable, your wrench. I like to place my crafter on the back of this chest, and you'll just want to right click the crafter with your wrench until it faces the proper direction, which is your chest. Then you'll want to place an importer on the back of your item collector, and then just connect the cable up to your netherite crafter, and finally connect this cable up to your controller and your storage system as a whole. Now this crafter is online. You can tell because, say if I break this cable, it's not lit up, but as soon as the cable is back, it lights up and you know it's connected with your system. You can also see that with the crafter pointed at the chest, it knows it's pointed at the chest, and that is exactly what we want. Now all that's left for us to do is to build our crafting recipe. For that, we will need a stack of flux dust, a stack of redstone, and 1 obsidian. I do need, there you go, to replace that. And within our pattern grid of our refined storage system, we want to click on processing, because that'll bring up this input and output side. And for our input, we want to put in a stack of redstone and 1 obsidian. At this point, you can configure this to create as little or as much flux dust as possible. You could have it make as little as 1 by only putting in 1 redstone, but I find it at this stage in the game, you should have enough redstone just to be able to put a full stack in, because you can get a full stack of flux dust from 1 block of obsidian, and I feel like that's important. Now for our output, I'll put in a stack of flux dust. Make sure that you're inputting a stack of redstone and a stack of flux dust, or just the same amount of redstone and flux dust, because if you don't, it will mess with the recipe. Now we can take our pattern and create our pattern, and we can come and put it in our crafter, and you can see, you can double check your inputs here on the pattern, and you can show it's making flux dust. Now in our system, if I take the flux dust I have in there out already, you can see it wants to craft flux dust, and if I wanted to, it needs a stack of redstone and obsidian. So now if I were to put the stack of redstone and obsidian in there, I can craft it. Start. And you can see it's starting to come in, but at this point is where I see the optional things are not necessary, but nice to have. So in your crafter, I just like to put 4 speed upgrades because that's the fastest it can possibly go. And in your importer, you want to put 1 stack upgrade and 3 speed upgrades. So now our importer will be pulling out from our item collector a stack at a time as fast as it possibly can. So now, say if I were to take a bunch of redstone and throw it in our system, and I was to take a bunch of obsidian and throw it in our system. Say if I wanted to make 4 stacks of flux dust, I can, and it comes in a stack at a time and quite fast. Now, you also need to remember that not every time it will consume the obsidian, but there is a chance that you will get the cobblestone back, and I think it's important in the block placer just to have some number of obsidian, just so it's always stacked up, because as long as you have some obsidian, it'll never go down. Because this isn't affected by the fact that it'll turn into cobblestone. Only the amount of obsidian you have in your system will affect it. Now this brings us to the end of our tutorial. I hope you enjoyed. I hope it wasn't too clustered. This is my simple way to create flux dust. Yeah, thanks for watching.